What's going on, guys? Welcome back to another episode of Little MACJ TV, where I do different reviews and different things like taste tests, but most of the time I do reviews. We have something different. Like I asked before, I was going to start doing movie reviews, so I figured I'd fit in my first movie review on the channel. I have not done any movie reviews on this channel yet, so this is going to be a first. All this talk about Batman and Dr. Squatch, why not go see the movie? You know, it just came out on Friday. I just went and seen it today, so I figured I'd give you my thoughts. But fair warning, there may be some spoiler alerts in this review. Not meaning to, but I have to talk about it, give you my opinion on what I thought and what I liked about it and all that good stuff. But this is gonna be a first movie review on the channel. So if you're new to this channel, this is the first time, so we're gonna get into this Batman movie review right after this. Okay guys, welcome back to A Little MACJ TV, where I am doing my first movie review on the brand new Batman that was just released on Friday. I did a few videos over the Dr. Squatch announcement and the bars that just came out that was featuring the Batman movie. So I figured I'd jump in and do a movie review because there's a few people who are recommending doing a movie review. So I figured why not make the Batman the first movie review, since Batman is a very popular franchise in the DC community, and so I figured why not do a review. So this movie was directed by Matt Reeves. So the opening scene, you know, it's not like the typical Batman's. It was different than the other Batmans for sure. I don't really consider it to be like an action movie. It was more of a dark, like thriller slash drama type movie, where Batman plays more of the detective role as Batman instead of Bruce Wayne. So that was different because in most of the movies, Batman doesn't really play that role, and he's more of like showing up when there's crime being committed or something's going on. He's on the scene, but he's never in the mix with Commissioner Gordon and all that other stuff. So I thought that was cool about the film. In this movie, you see more of Batman than you do of Bruce Wayne, which I thought was different than the other Batmans. It was a good mystery type movie. Like it had you on. It was a pretty long movie, running about 2 hours and 55 minutes with 8 minutes of credits, which was pretty long. It didn't seem drawn out. You know, it always had you wondering what was going to happen next. So you have Robert Pattinson playing Batman in this movie, which I thought did a awesome job. He was more of like an emo type Batman. You can tell he was more of like a younger Batman. And all the other Batmans, they seemed like more older and kind of like more experienced as Batman. And Robert Pattinson in this movie seems to play the Batman role as having like a chip on his shoulder because of what happened to his parents. I liked Robert Pattinson in this movie. Now, if I say he's the best Batman, I don't know. You know, because it's such a different role compared to the other Batmans, I can't really say that Robert Pattinson was the best Batman because there hasn't really been a Batman like this. So it's kind of hard. In my opinion, I think it's hard to compare Batmans to each other unless they play similar roles. Now, him as Batman, I thought he did a fantastic job. I thought the camera angles were good in this movie, you know, with the opening scene when it had the mayor watching the news and Riddler was in his house and you could see him behind. It added the suspense, you know, with the darkness of DC and Batman that it tends to have, you know, that darkness to it. That's what DC and Batman's known for, is the Gotham City and the darkness. And then of course when it introduced Batman in the subway with those thugs going after the guy getting off the subway, it was cool the way Batman was introduced, because everybody who is a fan of Batman in other movies, you're waiting for that appearance. It's like, how is he going to be presented in this movie? And he came out of the shadows like Batman does, and you know, he did his thing. Throughout the movie, I did notice that the CGI was a little noticeable on some of the scenes. That wasn't on all scenes, but you can tell on some of the scenes the CGI was definitely noticeable, which isn't a big deal, but sometimes, you know, people don't like that CGI look because sometimes it's too much. Sometimes it's a little, it's overdone, especially in the Marvel movies, but I felt like the CGI was well done for this movie. It wasn't overdone, but you definitely tell some of the CGI was noticeable. Then you had Zoe Kravitz playing Catwoman in this movie. She did an okay job in my opinion. I'm not a huge fan of Catwoman in general, but for the part as Catwoman, I think she did a decent job. I think she did a pretty good job considering, Catwoman isn't really a huge star of the film, but I think she did good enough for the film. Then you have Colin Farrell playing the Penguin. Now I was tripped out because I didn't even know that was Colin Farrell. I didn't even recognize him. The makeup was fantastic on the Penguin, and I didn't even know that was Colin Farrell. But in the old one, in Batman Returns, when Danny DeVito played Penguin, you could tell that was Danny DeVito. You can tell with the makeup on, you could still tell it was Danny DeVito. But in this new one, you cannot tell that was Colin Farrell at all. So I was shocked when I saw the credits and saw that Colin Farrell played Penguin. I was so surprised because I had no idea that he even was in the movie to begin with. So that was pretty crazy. And John Turturro is one of those actors where he plays serious roles, but I was a huge Adam Sandler fan. Younger days, when John Turturro was on Mr. Deeds and Anger Management. It's so funny to see because I'm a huge movie fan and I'm a huge comedy fan. So when you see John Turturro in the movie, sometimes you just wait for him to pop out and say, something goofy like he does in Anger Management.
Went from happy to angry. Skip said, "Now I feel like kicking his ass."
Or Mr. Deeds.
I like feet. I do not know why.
Sometimes watching serious roles in some actors is kind of funny to me because I'm such a fan of those other movies. So when you do see them, you kind of get thrown off guard because you're not expecting that role. But he is a good actor. I thought he played an excellent role in this movie, so no complaints there. Paul Dano as the Riddler was another shocker to me because he doesn't come off as being a character like that because he was in other movies. I remember him in The Girl Next Door.
Do you have a fever? No. Why do you?
He doesn't play like a role where he's very aggressive, and in this one he was very intelligent in this role as the Riddler. He was very smart. Even watching the movie, when it showed his face in the cafe towards the end, people in the theater laugh because when you see Paul Dano, you don't really think, you don't see the intimidation in his face. He doesn't look like somebody who would play a role of the Riddler because the Riddler is such a crazy person that's trying to do the right thing, but by taking out the people responsible for the bad stuff, but yet he's not entirely good. He's setting bombs and stuff like that, so he's not necessarily good, but he doesn't come off as being intimidating. So, but he did good in the movie. I'm not gonna say, I'm not knocking him for it. I think he did excellent, but some people are gonna think seeing him as a villain was different, because you see him in other movies, it's just different. Jeffrey Wright played James Gordon. I thought he did an excellent job in this movie. I thought him and Batman, him and Robert Pattinson worked well together in the movie. There's a lot of scenes with them together, and I think that you can see the chemistry in them in the movie. The scenes that they had together, you can see the chemistry with each other. Very important to have actors that have good chemistry because it makes the movie, I guess, more believable. The scenes seem more real, they seem more organic than having two actors that you can tell are just kind of off. You can tell that actors just weren't on the same page, but I thought that Jeffrey Wright and Robert Pattinson did well in this movie. They are very important roles with each other in this movie, and I think they did a fantastic job. I think that this Batman was actually a good movie. It was pretty long, but for the most part, I think it was actually a good Batman. For the most part, I think that this movie was good. I honestly definitely give it a thumbs up. And I would definitely say, if you haven't seen Batman and you're a Batman fan, I don't know if you're a DC fan or a Marvel fan. I personally like DC better than Marvel. A lot of the new Marvel has way too much CGI for me. Sometimes it's just so chaotic you don't know what's going on. But in my opinion, I think the DC movies are awesome and I definitely like them. If you haven't seen it, I would say go check it out. I don't want to spoil too much. There is a character that they do give a glimpse of at the end. So that tells you right there that there may be a second one. So if you haven't checked it out, I will say no more. You can go watch the film. I definitely recommend you go checking it out. And just make sure that you have time, because it is a long movie, almost 3 hours long. Plus you gotta count previews, so you're looking at about 3.5 hours of your day. So if you have it to spare, go check it out. It's gonna do it for this video. Thank you for stopping by and checking out my first movie review on this channel. Appreciate it very much. And if you're new to the channel and you like this kind of stuff, if you'd like me to do more movie reviews, leave them down in the comments. And if you like the movie reviews, be sure to comment, like the video, and subscribe if you would like to see more movie reviews. But anyways, guys, thank you for the support. We're almost to 400 subs. Let's get there. That's gonna do it, guys. And as always, I'll see you on the next one. Until then, peace out.